Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 171 of the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast. I'm Christine.
And I'm Sam.
Here's what's coming up in today's show. In our Noteworthy segment, we're going to discuss myths surrounding soy products and give you some facts to debunk those myths.
And in our main topic, we'll talk about the intersection of animal and human rights.
Before we get into all that, what have we been up to? Besides trying to navigate the hellscape that is our current administration.
Really, that about sums it up.
Yeah. We hope you all are coping okay out there. And I just want to say that if things get really bad, we're not above pivoting this podcast a little bit to maybe get information out there that needs to get out there.
Yeah.
If that needs to happen.
Absolutely.
We're prepared if that needs to happen.
This is true.
In the meantime, we will continue focusing on our vegan message and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think, see, on the outline, Christine has, below the sentence, we've just been trying to navigate the hellscape that is the current administration. She has the question, how are you holding up?
I mean the listener.
Yes, I know you mean the listener, but I'm looking at that and going,
I'm not holding up.
I'm not.
I'm having a hard time holding up.
I'm having a hard time holding up.
Yeah.
To be completely honest.
Yeah. This episode is coming to you a day late. And full disclosure, we said that it was technical difficulties, but the technical difficulties were stress related.
Yes.
So it was technical issues with our brains.
Yes. Yes. There was no trouble with the computers or any of the other audio equipment.
Right.
There was no problem with the uploading. Nothing.
No problem
of that. No.
with any of our inanimate technology.
Yeah. The problem was the animate part of the whole thing, which is our brains.
Yeah. And I'm sure you all can relate.
Yes.
To that. Just having a hard time grasping the reality that we're living in right now.
Yeah.
So we're going to give you a little bit of a relief from that.
Yeah, let's talk about soy.
Yeah, and let's just jump into our Noteworthy section and talk about myths and facts about soy and tofu.
As I'm sure many of you are aware, there are a number of myths about consuming soy products, many of which are based on misunderstandings or misinformation, particularly in regard to soy causing hormonal imbalances or certain forms of cancer, et cetera, et cetera. And so we're going to go through a few of those common myths and hopefully debunk them a bit.
Yeah, let's do that.
So the first one on the list is that soy causes hormonal imbalance. This myth stems from soy's phytoestrogens. Phytoestrogens are plant compounds with estrogen-like properties. However, studies show that moderate soy consumption doesn't cause hormonal imbalance in most people, and it may even help balance hormones, especially in menopausal women. The key thing to remember here is that phytoestrogens are not estrogen.
They're not. They're plant estrogens, which are nothing. They don't react anything like animal estrogen in your system.
That's right.
Unlike the estrogens that come when you consume dairy, for instance.
Oh, big time when you consume dairy.
Yeah.
So anytime you're eating cheese, yogurt, milk, you're getting a tremendous number of not phytoestrogens, but estrogens.
Yeah.
The actual hormone themselves.
Right, because the mother cow is producing tons and tons of hormones.
That's right.
To pass on to her young.
Baby calf growth fluid.
Yeah, and those are things that we should not be ingesting.
That is correct.
Another myth is that soy causes breast cancer. Now, soy does contain those phytoestrogens that we were just talking about. Research shows that it may actually reduce the risk of hormone-related cancers, such as breast cancer. When consumed in moderation, in fact, some studies suggest that women who consume soy regularly have a lower risk of breast cancer.
Absolutely. And of course, you do want to remember here that the soy that you're consuming should be organic.
Always consume organic soy.
Yes.
Just on an aside note, I know it's really hard to find organic edamame in the shell. Has anybody else found organic edamame in the shell? You can find organic edamame out of the shell, but you know the one that comes in the shell?
I do.
It's hard to find that in an organic form. At least in the stores that we shop in. Maybe like Whole Foods has it.
Maybe.
We don't get up there very often.
No, we don't.
What other myths do we have here?
The idea that soy is only for vegans and vegetarians.
Right.
Well, first of all, this is crazy because take a look at most processed foods. A lot of them have some kind of soy component.
They do. A lot of soy isolates and soy proteins.
Yes, absolutely. Soy is often used as a stabilizer, so it's present in many, many, many things.
Yeah, we're willing to share.
We are. And soy is an excellent protein source for all diets, not just plant-based ones. It's a great addition to anyone's diet, including those who eat meat.
Another myth about soy is that it can interfere with your thyroid function. While soy may have a mild effect on thyroid function in people with iodine deficiency, and another side note here, if you're vegan, you should be using an iodized salt.
Yes.
There are iodized sea salts if you like to use sea salt, but that is the only way you're going to get your iodine. I mean, unless you're taking a supplemental iodine.
Yeah.
So backing up. So it might have a mild effect on your thyroid if you have an iodine deficiency or thyroid problems. Research indicates that soy products are safe for most individuals and will not interfere with thyroid health when consumed as a part of your balanced diet.
Then we come to the idea that soy is necessarily genetically modified. While many soybeans are genetically modified, those soybeans are the ones that tend to go towards animal feed.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So if you're concerned about consuming GMO soy, you really want to avoid meat and dairy.
Yeah.
Because the animals that will be producing that meat and dairy are consuming GMO soy.
Right.
The vast majority of soybeans that are produced for human consumption are organic.
Yeah, organic
and or non-GMO soy
if they're
products.
organic, they are non-GMO.
That's correct.
Just note that.
Yes.
Soy makes men less masculine. We've all heard that soy boy thing, right?
So silly.
You're going to grow man boobs and all that
Oh,
jazz.
good Lord.
This myth is rooted in the belief that soy's phytoestrogens can feminize men. However, you know what? And if it did, I would be like, that could be a good thing.
And hooray.
However, research shows that moderate soy consumption does not affect testosterone levels or cause feminizing effects in men. You will not get man boobs from eating tofu.
No, and just the idea, like, making men less masculine, like, what does that actually mean?
Yeah, the meat is masculine thing that is a thing developed by the meat industry.
Yes, it is.
You know, you've seen the ads, men steak, men men grill. Okay.
And it's absolutely absurd.
It's ridiculous.
I come into contact with quite a few men in the course of an average day.
Yeah.
And first of all, none of them are the same.
Right.
None of them exude masculinity in exactly the same way. So the idea that there is one form of masculinity is just ridiculous.
Yeah, that in itself is ridiculous.
Yes, exactly. So then taking the idea that soy or not consuming meat would make one less masculine is just equally absurd. So can we get past all of this, please?
That's just dumb.
Yeah.
It's just dumb.
Next, we have the idea that all soy products are the same. Well, no. Soy products will vary in nutritional value depending on the form. Whole soy foods like edamame and tofu are more nutritious than heavily processed versions like soy protein isolate or soy-based junk foods. You're going to find things like tempeh somewhere in the middle.
Right. Tempeh is really good for you.
It is. It's actually, yeah.
Yeah, because not only is it a soy product, it is a fermented food.
Yeah.
So it's really good for your gut biome.
Yes, indeed.
Soy is unhealthy because it's processed. This process thing kills me. Everything is processed in some way.
Most things anymore, yeah.
Picking vegetables is processing them, right?
Yeah,
Not all
technically
soy
speaking.
products are unhealthy. While soy foods like tofu, tempeh, and edamame are highly nutritious, while processed soy products like soy-based snacks may contain unhealthy additives, moderation and choosing minimally processed options are key. Of course, tofu is processed. It has to go through a process to turn it from a soybean into a block of tofu.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. But the word processed doesn't necessarily mean something's bad.
No.
It's just like saying chemicals are bad. There's chemicals in everything.
Yes.
There's chemicals in water. There's chemicals in themselves are not bad. There are bad chemicals.
Yes.
And there are bad processed foods.
Yes.
So there you go.
Next, we have the myth that soy should be avoided during pregnancy. Studies actually suggest that moderate soy consumption during pregnancy is safe and may even have health benefits. However, as with all foods, it's best to consume soy in balanced amount. And for a moment, let's just go back to the studies that have, of course, said that a vegan diet, which for many will include the consumption of soy, is healthful for adults in all stages of life, for children, for pregnant women, and nursing mothers.
And our last myth is soy is unhealthy for people with allergies. You do hear about people that do have soy allergies. While soy allergies do exist, they're relatively rare. Most people can safely consume soy without any issue. For those who are allergic to soy, they should obviously avoid it.
Of course, and that's why soy is listed among the top 11 allergens that must be included on any processed food.
Right.
So if you look at the label of anything that you're buying, if there is soy included, you will see that in bold.
In bold, it'll say contains soy.
Yes.
Yeah. Now let's move on to the benefits of soy products.
So many benefits.
Woohoo.
So first and foremost, soy provides a high quality protein, especially when we're talking about the minimally processed versions such as edamame and tofu and tempeh. It is a complete protein, meaning it contains all essential amino acids.
Yep, all 9 of them. It's good for your heart health. Soy protein may help reduce LDL, your bad cholesterol, and lowers the risk of heart disease.
It's great for bone health. It's rich in calcium and isoflavones, both of which support bone strength.
Yeah. Now, mind you, that is in fortified soy products. It's rich in calcium. Apparently, it's not naturally rich in calcium.
And there you have it.
For hormonal balance, soy isoflavones have mild estrogen-like effects, phytoestrogens, which we've talked about, which may help ease menopause symptoms.
Soy can have a positive effect on weight management because soy is high in protein and fiber. It promotes satiety and muscle maintenance.
If you're like a newer vegan and you find that you're just hungry all the time, chances are it's because you're A, not including enough fats in your diet, and B, not including enough satiating proteins like tofu.
Right.
So that's something to bear in mind. It's good for diabetes management. It may help you regulate your blood sugar and improve your insulin sensitivity.
Soy has also been linked to cancer prevention, with some studies suggesting that soy consumption may lower the risk of certain cancers, such as breast and prostate cancer.
Some of the nations with the highest soy consumption have the lowest cancer rates.
Yes.
It's been proven. It's, what is it, the China study that shows all of, among other things, that populations that consume a lot of soy products do have low rates of cancer. It's good for gut health. Fermented soy products like miso and tempeh contain probiotics that support your digestion.
It is sustainable and plant-based. It is a great alternative to animal protein with a far lower environmental impact.
Hugely lower environmental impact.
Yes.
Now, you're going to get non-vegans who like to argue with vegans, say that a lot of land usage is because of soy, and we've said it before and we'll say it again, that soy is for animal feed.
That's right.
Those miles and miles of soybean fields that you see, chances are for animal feed.
That's correct.
So a lot of the, forests depletion and all that, that's because of animal feed, not because of the amount. I think it's something like 2% of soy made. Is it between 2 and 5% of soy products made?
I don't remember the stat off the top of my head.
Are grown for human consumption. Oh, and the last one is that it's lactose free. So it's good.
It's a great dairy substitute.
Yeah, it's good for people who have lactose intolerance. So,
and there you have it.
Yeah. So just some things about soy and tofu and tempeh and miso and all the other great things that you can make with the soybean.
It's making me hungry.
It's kind of a miraculous product. Yeah, we haven't eaten yet.
No, we haven't.
Yeah.
We should fix that.
Well, I do have, I think, 4 packages of tofu in the refrigerator.
Oh, well,
we eat a lot of tofu.
We do.
You know?
We do.
So that brings us to our main topic. This week's main topic is the intersection of animal and human rights. There's a whole lot of human rights crap.
Oh, yeah.
For lack of another word going on right now.
I have many words for it, to be completely honest. But I think at no point in our recent history certainly has the intersection of all human rights become so important.
Oh, yeah.
And with that, the intersection of human rights and the rights of non-human animals.
And just know, just because you are an animal rights advocate does not mean you can't be both. You can be both for animal rights and for human rights. And I think the majority of us vegans we're doing that, right?
Yes, I would say that that's probably accurate.
Yeah. So animal rights and human rights intersect in several ways, reflecting broader ethical, social, and environmental concerns. And here are some key intersections to both of those movements.
So first we have the ethical considerations and compassion. And anyone who's been listening to us for any length of time knows that I will die on the hill that compassion is the central tenet of the vegan ethic. Yeah. That it is first and foremost. So advocating for animal rights often aligns with promoting empathy and reducing violence in general, certainly for animals, but it also fosters a more compassionate society for both humans and animals. Yeah. Reducing violence is reducing violence.
Right.
Also, ethical frameworks such as utilitarianism and deontology, which is an ethical theory that uses rules to distinguish right from wrong. Deontology is often associated with Immanuel Kant, who believed that ethical actions follow universal moral laws, such as don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat. Those can be equally applied to both human and animal rights, emphasizing the reduction of suffering.
Yeah, the don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat thing. I mean, I can think of a few people right now that are breaking all those rules.
Really? Huh.
How about environmental and...
Wait a minute. I got to think about this a little bit. Really?
She's racking her brain.
I am just racking
it.
My brain. Huh.
Are you done racking your brain?
Yes.
We can move on?
We can move on.
Environmental and public health issues. What are the intersections there? Factory farming and industrial animal agriculture contribute to deforestation, climate change, and pollution, which disproportionately affects vulnerable human populations.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're not going to find a CAFO in the midst of a largely white, wealthy, suburban neighborhood.
Absolutely not. There won't be one within miles.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're going to find them in rural, poor areas that are predominantly populated by people of color.
Absolutely. Zoonotic diseases like COVID, avian flu that we're going through right now, highlight the link between human health and the treatment of animals in our food systems and wildlife markets.
Yes. And one of the things that is mystifying me right now with people screaming about the price of eggs.
The egg thing is just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
It is such a red herring.
Yes.
It's so stupid.
Because first of all, whoever is in the White House, they don't control the price of eggs.
No.
The price of
eggs. The market controls it.
Yes, it does. And the price of eggs is skyrocketing right now because the demand is far greater than the supply. And that is because of avian flu.
Exactly.
That flock upon flock upon flock of chickens have had to be culled because of the risk of avian flu.
Yeah.
So the problem is, for once, not actually bureaucratic. This is actually what is the word I want to use? This is an issue that is at the very, very core of industrialized farming.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think that avian flu would be spreading the way it is if there wasn't industrial farming. Now,
of course not.
Mind you, wild bird and mammal populations are being affected by this avian flu. But I think just like anything else, these zoological diseases are born in the animal agriculture industry. Mm-hmm. And then they kind of run rampant. And then our governments kind of keep sweeping it under the rug and nothing's being done. And then giant factory farms are destroying thousands and thousands of living beings. And don't feel bad for these factory farms because they'll get that loss back.
Yeah.
They will be subsidized for that.
Yes.
Your tax dollars will go to help them refill those CAFOs with animals. So don't feel bad for them.
Yes. Another big one right now that's kind of taken center stage is labor rights and exploitation. So the animal agriculture and fur industries often rely on exploitative labor conditions, which affect marginalized human workers in slaughterhouses, in factory farms, and in our crop fields.
Yeah.
And who are we talking about right now? Again, we're talking about migrant workers.
In most cases,
we are talking
migrant
about
workers.
Yes, migrant workers who are overwhelmingly people of color. And so we're seeing now with the ICE raids in large cities, in rural areas, people are not coming to work because they're scared of being picked up by immigration.
They're afraid to go to work. They are afraid to go to work.
Yes. So not only are they now dealing with unsafe working conditions, low wages, and psychological trauma, particularly in the case of slaughterhouse workers, but now they're dealing with the fear of deportation.
Right. Yeah.
The fear of essentially criminalization.
Yeah.
Yes. And it was interesting. I was watching a video yesterday. I can't remember the YouTube channel that posted it, but it was someone talking to the owner of a dairy farm and asking said owner if they were concerned about the ICE raids and, whether or not their migrant worker population would be showing up. And the farmer said, if this continues, the country will be without food in a matter of days.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if migrant and immigrant workers don't show up to the jobs in the produce industry, in the dairy industry, in the meat industry, that farmer is absolutely correct. It won't take long for our food systems to collapse.
Right. And again, if you're wondering why an avocado is suddenly a lot more expensive, or why that bag of oranges that you bought last week is double the price this week, this is what we're talking about.
Yeah, you can blame that. You can blame this hysteria over immigrants.
Yes.
Yeah. What else? Food justice and global hunger. The resources used for industrial animal farming, e.g. land, water, grain, could be redirected to more sustainable plant-based food systems that address global hunger and food insecurity.
Yes.
Absolutely. If the amount of money and resources that go into animal farming were to go into plant farming, we could immediately solve world hunger.
Yes. To have even one person on this planet at risk of starvation while we are feeding billions of animals per year purely to be brought to slaughter is reprehensible.
It's not a sustainable model, but for some reason it keeps growing and growing and growing. And I mean, not only could we feed all the hungry in the world, we could bring forests back to where they're supposed to be. There would be, we could slow the amount of species loss that we have. I mean, it would be so good for the planet. It's just ridiculous that that money, it's just greed.
Yeah.
That money is like money talks, we don't care people are starving. We don't care that the earth is dying. We must raise animals. It's insanity.
It is.
To me, it's just pure insanity.
It is. Next, there's a correlation between violence and abuse. Studies show that there are links between animal abuse and domestic violence, child abuse, and other violent crimes, suggesting that protecting animals can also protect vulnerable human populations.
Yeah. That's pretty simple.
Yeah.
There's legal and social justice parallels between the animal rights movement and human rights. Movements advocating for animal rights share strategies with human rights activists, including legal challenges, boycotts, and policy reforms. I mean, a lot of the animal rights movement does, and vice versa, takes pages from these movements.
Of course.
Legal personhood cases for animals like the great apes and elephants and all animals, if you ask me, should have personhood, echo past legal struggles for human rights.
They sure do.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me. I was actually having this conversation with a student today. The idea that, all of the, let's say, vulnerable communities, okay, so people of color, the LGBTQ community, animals, the transgender community, women, et cetera, et cetera. Let's take all of them as a collective. If those movements, if those minorities, if those vulnerable populations could, instead of worrying about hanging on to their own turf, realize that rights for one of those groups is equivalent to rights for all of those groups.
Yeah.
And form a united front, then we'd be talking.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I do wish that the civil rights movement would embrace the gay and trans rights movement more.
I wish the LGBTQ community would embrace the trans movement more.
Yeah. I mean, we can't look, a lot of the rights that gay people have right now are solely because of trans women at Stonewall, trans women who spoke out against the craziness that was going on. Gay people should be embracing trans people because the rights we have now are directly from the fights that they fought years ago.
Yes.
So,
but really what it comes down to, these turf wars, and the student that I was talking to today happens to be a non-binary, queer, cisgendered female student of mixed race.
Okay.
So, who uses she, her pronouns. And she just kept saying, she's like, yeah, the black side of my family doesn't like the Hispanic side of my family. Nobody likes the queers. Just that there are all of these internal battles, each marginalized group feels like they need to hold on to their specific turf. And that if anybody else gets rights, it means that somehow their rights are going to be taken away.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my whole, it's not pie.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of the thing. It's not pie.
That's
Just
right.
because somebody gets a slice of it doesn't mean you don't get any.
That's right. Equal rights for all does not mean fewer rights for you.
Yeah.
It's not pie.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that includes animals.
Exactly.
Equal rights for animals does not mean fewer rights for humans.
Yeah. And the last thing we're going to talk about is cultural and indigenous perspectives.
Yes. Many indigenous communities have a long-standing tradition of respecting animal life and ecosystems, emphasizing interconnected rights and responsibilities. And that's something that I find very, very interesting. Mm-hmm. So many people in general and groups love to talk about rights. So few talk about responsibilities.
Right.
And it does have to be both. With rights must come responsibilities.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so I find it very interesting that is, I really think, a big part of the problem. That in so many movements, we think about the rights without including the idea of the responsibilities.
Yeah. Yeah. You got a very valid point there.
Yes. However, of course, all ethical considerations must also respect cultural traditions, balancing animal welfare and animal rights with human rights to self-determination.
And, sometimes I think about, what would the world be like if the indigenous peoples of wherever they're from, if they're from our country or wherever indigenous people were living, especially those indigenous people that had so much respect for the earth and the animals and plants that lived on it with them, what would the world be like if those people were just left alone? If colonialism never existed, we would be living in It would be like the Garden of Eden.
It'd be a
what I mean?
relative utopia.
It would be utopian.
I mean, don't
for sure.
get me wrong. The idea of utopia has issues too. But,
Sure.
And
of course, I mean, there were wars between indigenous tribes and stuff
Certainly.
like that because, turf wars because they had to survive. And if you're hunting on our land, it might mean less food for our families. And of course, and a lot of that is just because of men. Let's just say it how it is.
It's hard to deny.
I mean, we could all live on the island of Sappho and then we would be living.
Oh, wow. You went off the rails on that one. I don't know about the Isle of Sappho, but it's hard to deny the men thing.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that if women were able to play a larger role, leadership roles, bigger leadership roles everywhere, not just in the United States, that the world would be a better place, that the world would be a more compassionate place.
I can agree with that in principle, absolutely. Now, this being said, okay, to our male listeners, we're not dissing all men.
No, and there are some raging biatches out there, that are women. So, I mean, no, I'm not, I'm generalizing here, totally generalizing. But I do feel that way, I mean, I don't know. I'm just thinking about
the fact that the vast majority of global cultures have become patriarchal over time. Yes, I agree that in and of itself is problematic and has contributed quite a bit to the mess that we are in now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if we just had less white men running the world, I think the world would be a better place. Old white men, And I think a lot of people would agree with that.
Hang on a second, though. But we have older white men listening to us, Pookie.
Oh, I know. I love a lot of older white men. But I'm talking about the older white men that are running.
You're talking about old white billionaires.
That's what I'm talking about.
You're not talking about old white men in general. You're talking about old white billionaires.
That's what I'm talking about.
The oligarchs.
Exactly.
Okay, so down with the oligarchs. That I can get behind.
I think people knew what I was talking about.
Well, I just need to clarify because I don't want anybody out there saying that we hate men. Because we really don't.
No, absolutely not.
No. Seriously. 4 out of 5 of my best friends are men. We're not dissing men in general.
I did not.
I would like to make that very, very clear.
I didn't mean to insinuate that at all, but man, have we really kind of gotten off topic.
I'd say.
So those are just some ways that the animal rights and human rights movements intersect. I think you can't have one without the other, frankly.
I agree with that. I think it should be one big melting pot.
Yeah. So
it should all be intersectional.
If anybody ever comes up to you and says, oh, you're vegan, don't you care about people? All you guys care about are animals. Don't you care about people?
I do.
We've talked about this in the past. That is, talk about myths. That is one of the biggest myths out there, that vegans only care about animals.
Truly.
Because that's just ridiculous.
Again, if you go to compassion being at the heart of the vegan ethic, then right there, it's compassion for all beings.
Exactly. Let's move on to our assignment restaurant SOS. This week's restaurant in our assignment restaurant is one of our favorites, Grass-Fed Vegan Butcher.
Oh, I do love me some grass-fed. You've heard us talk about grass-fed probably a dozen times by now. Because whenever we are at a veg fest or any kind of event where grass-fed is available, it's generally the first place we go. Yeah, because we just love them. They are a wonderful vegan butcher shop and deli in Rochester, New York.
Yep.
And you can check them out at grassfedrochester.com.
Yeah. Do you want to take a look at some of the foods that they have?
Well, yeah. I mean, although we haven't eaten yet, so...
I don't care. I'm looking anyway.
I'm just saying. Let's look at the daily sandwich menu.
Oh, yeah.
One of your favorites, the Back in the USS Reuben.
Yes. And all of their sandwiches have really fun names.
Yes, they do. Yes, they really, really do.
Yeah. So, and a lot of them are, I would guess, inspired by songs. popular songs.
Yes.
So back in the USS Reuben. Okay, that's back in the USSR by the Beatles.
Indeed.
The next one is Pastrami by myself and wait,
Pastrami, myself and I. Yes. Which is up there, of course, with the Take on Salami.
Yeah. Take on salami.
Yes.
And one of my favorites, the Wake Me Up Before You, Monte Cristo. That's a really good Monte Cristo that they make. I love a good Monte Cristo.
Yeah.
And they make a good one.
Yeah, for sure. See, now I want to try the We Don't Talk About Pesto.
Yeah.
Because I've never had that one yet. I actually haven't had their turkey yet. And that's one of my favorite things is a turkey sandwich.
It's turkey, Dia shreds, roasted red peppers, arugula, and our pistou on white bread. Yeah. They make, they are a butcher shop. So they make all their meats are in-house made. And they're so good.
Yep.
So very good.
See, now, I think you're going to have to get this one at some point, both for the name and for what it is, because we know that you love a breakfast sandwich just about more than anything else in the world.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to try the You Ain't Seen Muffin Yet, which
baby.
I think is my favorite name.
Baby, just ain't seen muffin. Yeah.
Yes, this is their house-made tofu egg with yolk, Dia cheddar cheese, and butter with your choice of bacon, ham, or spicy breakfast sausage on a toasted English muffin.
Yeah, another fun one is the I Wanna Hold Your Ham. Oh, these guys are great.
They're so awesome.
So great. And they have the Inda Turkey Club.
Yes.
Inda Turkey Club.
And do you roast beef in magic?
In a young girl's heart.
Like, seriously, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant.
They're all good. The sandwiches are fantastic. They also have takeaway stuff. You can take the meats home for yourself to make things at home with them.
Yeah, we tried that once and then left them in our Airbnb.
We did.
It was a sad day.
If you live in Rochester, they do local delivery.
Nice.
Yeah. They have holiday pre-orders if there's a holiday coming up. They have on their website preparation tips, where to find their stuff, because now they're also you can find their products in New City Cafe and Roastery. And there's another one, I think, recently.
Create Pizza.
Create Pizza. Where else? Oh, the Red Fern uses their products.
And we also know that Squatchos.
Oh, yes, Squatchos uses their pepperoni.
Yep.
So they're everywhere. If you're in Rochester, and you're eating vegan, chances are you're eating some of their stuff. And it's all good. Now, I don't know if you remember the twist we put on the Restaurant SOS, but if you have recently been to Grass Fed and have taken a photo of your meal there, please email us a copy of said photo. Let us know what the meal was, and we will enter you in for the February drawing. And if you are picked, you will win a gift card to Grass Fed Rochester. We did get some submissions. Thank you for your submissions for the
Strong Hearts.
Yeah, for Strong Hearts, which we talked about last week. So keep those submissions in, and at the end of the month, we will pick a winner.
Cool.
Yeah, it should be good. Oh, and I'm sorry, you can email us at compassionandcucumbers@gmail.com. And now it's time for our favorite portion of the show.
Must be listener shout out time.
It's listener shout out.
Just want to give a shout out to all my fans watching. I love you guys. I love you.
This week's listener shout out goes to Mike Cross. We don't know a ton about Mike, but we do know he is a new YouTube subscriber.
We don't know anything about you, Mike.
But that's okay. Mike, thanks for listening and for subscribing.
Yeah, send us your t-shirt size and address so we can send you a Compassion and Cucumbers swag bag. You can send that to our email that I just said, compassionandcucumbers@gmail.com. You can DM us on Instagram or Facebook.
And for the rest of you out there, if you want a listener shout out, please email, text, or DM Christine. Let her know what you think of the show and tell us a little bit about yourself. You can also nominate someone else for a shout out.
You certainly can. And so now it's time to wrap this baby up. But before we go, don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app, subscribe to our YouTube, and leave us a review and a rating so that we can reach more people like you. Also, if you want to get news about the show, you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter at our website, compassionandcucumbers.com.
And I am promising a major overhaul on the website in the not too distant future. Christine and I are going on a middle of nowhere cabin adventure, and I think I might use some of that time to finally overhaul the website.
That would be a good time to work on the website.
We could just sit by the big stone fireplace and overhaul the website.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
I like it. And with that, it's time to sign off. You have just listened to episode 171 of the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast, and there's nothing left to say but where cukes and compassion are always the fashion. On the podcast.
Thanks, James.
Have a great week, everyone.
We'll talk to you next Tuesday.
We love you.
We do. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
The end.
If you'd like to support the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast, well, you can do that by hopping on over to our Patreon page and becoming a patron. We have all the recipes from our vegan kitchen series up there, and we'll be adding some patron-only episodes in the near future. So thank you for supporting us at whatever level that you choose, and thank you again for listening to Compassion and Cucumbers podcast.